Hello, hello everyone. This is Cave Crusher, and today I am going to do a quick video of alt social media brands like alt media from these Vulture Crapitalists and their seeds funding of alt brands like Minds, Rumble, Telegram, Gab on the big tech, with a goal to just scatter us with these alternatives pushing Sunstein's Astroturf narratives of free market cult, you know, as a means of solutions, quote unquote, you know, pretending and fooling the masses that they are awakening, and pushing back against the establishment, while masterminds at Davos has learned how to fake populism after a decade of experiments from Sunstein online presence in his papers. If you have seen, if I research like his goals on pushing this libertarian paternalism into the discourse to prevent, quote unquote, you know, any criticism, dissent against the big business class. This is Obama's scissor propagandist Sunstein. He's still around in the WHO technical committee, um, who is still controlling these narratives that have been debunked by people like us who push back on their official narratives to cover up their Event 201 health cover front simulated war games against China. And I have talked about that in my article. I recommend everyone reading part one before they go into part two YouTube video on my YouTube channel. You start with part one so you can understand the position from the Chinese perspective on why they blocked the globalist big business WHO treaty. Once you understand these two parts, you understand why I push back on narratives where they love to push the Wuhan games, not the Wuhan games, sorry, the Wuhan um, level one virology lab that has been discussed and admitted, where it's used as, you know, gathering of animals' data and stuff like that, and pass through as a pass through area to higher, more dangerous labs outside of China under diplomatic cover, CIA diplomatic cover, and it gets passed through US consulates, embassies, where they are basically spying bases for the CIA. So they use these narratives of this lab leak where the Who puppet head, who is definitely being advised by big pharma, big business, and getting paid handsomely to push controlled narratives, you know, to cover up the real truths of what's going on with this Rona psyop, where people have so many answers that have not been have so many questions that have not been answered. And this is the problem. I have bullshit level one Wuhan lab leak cover story, A, which I have described in the article. If anybody has not read the full article, I recommend you do that. Is being pushed once again by Who Puppet Head, echoed by establishment influenced peddlers like Paul Joseph Watson, who is under the prison planet CIA's dissent for wars. And this kind of narratives, these kind of narratives get echoed into platforms I have experienced where it must be working that my presence triggers a lot of people, which I have experienced last year and earlier this year, where they dislike they dislike the fact that I disagreed with their post, and they go and attack my post, my profile, because they are threatened by the facts. So this cryptocurrency mines blockchain based social network, the same blockchain and cryptos being pushed under the World Government Summit of CBDCs with WEF, World Economic Forum, and the BIS coordination of our private central banking systems. And, you know, they brand themselves as a free speech platform, platform of open mindedness, which is the opposite. These are presented as alternative to social media networks such as Facebook, Twitter, etc. When in reality is a front, and they use the the far right to uh gather all the users so they can scatter us away from their big tech traditional platforms of Facebook and Twitter into these alternatives where our narratives are, where their narratives, castle state narratives, flourish further and further and further, where our dissent gets squashed and squashed and squashed along the way. And that's how they are doing it, because they are learning new tricks, and this is their tricks: astroturfing uh, skeptics, you know, who are critical of the establishment, medical, big pharma systems, big business, who are controlling narratives, controlling sciences, with by pushing revisionist history, with rewriting science for their own profits, their own benefits, and they don't want us to realize that this is their trick to prolong their system, their multi-trillion dollar um, pyramid scheme. So let me get into Mind's background. Wow, this Bill Ottman, he's got a page in Bloomberg. He's a multimillionaire. If you research his um, Bill Ottman net worth online, is $1 to $5 million from these seeders, these vulture capitalist seeders who are funding him, funding his platform, Y-Combinator, Y-Combinator, American Technology Startup Accelerator, founded in March '05, and organizations like Global Shapers community in London have links to vulture capitalists, accelerators like Y Combinators, where, you know, this Global Shapers community is a community of big business who influence other young people by gathering their young establishments, people, influencing, you know, business agendas, pushing quote unquote positive change through dialogue and action. So is this, shapers all over the world united by a common desire? It's like the global village of pushing private sector as a solution to a quote unquote more peaceful and inclusive world, which is a load of crock. And we know that Global Shapers is an initiative of the the World Economic Forum, perhaps best known for running the annual Davos conference. As a community, it says we have unique access and support from WEF, but they like to pretend, they love to again try to pretend that they're independent by trying to push this self-organized, but they're just a subsidiary link to WEF. And big tech, CISPR, Scissor, the CIA prison program, Palantir's Israeli-backed startups are linkages to the big tech and that Rand Corporation. So all these people, you think you are you are moving away from this traditional big tech, and you think, yes, since it's they censor us, yes, which does happen, but it's just a stratagem. It's a strategy to scatter you into their fake Astroturf alternative platforms. That's the game. It's not just censorship alone. That's the game. To control the narrative and squash you. People like real dissent, not fraudulent people, they use as tactics, examples in the mix while they get secured again through financing, while the real victims, like people like Scott, they don't get no backing, again, nothing, will always be reminded by the system against him because of his views. If you look into this article, 5 things that WEF Shaper learned during Y-Combinator. Big business stuff. Big business stuff. And people pretend that these platforms like Minds are, you know, fucking, independent and stuff like that. You know, what was funny is that CIA Anonymous, Factivist group, with their CIA Facebook, DARPA Facebook, Big Tech, Big Business Facebook page, all safe under this CISPA PRISM private surveillance program, encourage its sheeple to follow this platform, Minds, founded around 2015, launched in 2015. There you go. And called for developers of that community, that cult, to contribute to the service open source code base. And this is what the alt tech brand is about. Places like Minds, Parler, Gab, BitChute, which which people have also experienced censorship in one of these alt tech platforms as well. This is how they play you. They fool people. This is how they do it. This is the WeFunder Vulture Capitalist. What do you call it? What do they call it? Crowdfunding um, online institution that have backing from Y-Combinator that backs this alternative, so-called alternative big tech platform, which is just funny. It's just under the big tech platform. It's just no different, but just have backing from multi-millionaires, billionaires, vulture capitalist, who funds this millionaire guy, his brother, these him and his brother, multi-millionaires, Minds platform. And they like to pretend that they are on your side. They're fighting against censorship, and they're creating a community for dissent and all this bullshit, where we all know where it leads at the end. If I can find the fucking tweet, to, if it loads, to things like this: Davos, learning how to fake populism to iron out the problem of populism, real populism, like the Yellow Vests movement in France, and people real legitimate concerns and criticism of this system, and protest voting against the establishment bidding for a particular candidate for the agenda, like we have experienced in the past many times across Western countries, in Europe and the United States, and how Scott links this back to the 2000 US elections, where people have protested against this incoming Bush admin, where African Americans deprived of their vote over this rigging, and it's stopping people from waking up to this scam. So they need to find a way to maintain the narratives to keep the fuel going, and this is their trick. The world's most powerful economic elites are using anti-globalist rhetoric to help turbocharge globalization and enrich themselves. Astroturfing, in short. Thank you for listening, and I hope this makes you realize we are being scammed and realize that there is a sick agenda against us. This is a Cold War against the people, of class war at home and abroad. And they do it abroad. They're trying very best to do it to targeted countries abroad. So keep in mind of that and keep your full solidarity with these targeted countries, because it will make a difference against people like these. People that like these that don't want a informed, intelligent mass that cannot be fucked around and know what the fuck is going on, and want the basics back of sovereign nations, not bullshit globalization, global village agendas pushed by globalists like these like this man and the manager of this cartel group, State Street, BlackRock, Vanguard backing of these 2000 cartels under the World Economic Forum umbrella, coordinated umbrella. So, thank you for listening. Take this kind of critical information into account. Do your own research. Don't fall for brands. Don't fall for alternative brands. Don't fall for alternative media. Don't fall for social media brands. They are just the same old thing. Alt social media brands is just basically big tech or Facebook and Twitter. Just like alt media is the same as mainstream media under the same old Mockingbird propaganda system. It's all about controlling interests, protecting their interests with controlling mechanisms in place. If that status quo gets threatened, it's problem. They want stability for themselves. That's how it works. Stability works under their favor. And if there's no stability for them, their dominoes collapses. Their system collapses. And people with pitchforks will go after them and hang their headless bodies and their heads on a spike. That's the end game they don't want. So they are spending trillions to maintain this rotten economic system. Keep that in mind. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you on the next video.